What's going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. You're a returning subscriber as always, guys. Welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. Yesterday we broke the news, breaking news yesterday, about a discovery of a female body or remains of Kada Scott. Now I'm gonna go ahead and say, because you know the media and stuff and police are not really giving facts, but they are giving facts with the way they gave their press conference, that it's believed that this is the body of Kada Scott, 23-year-old woman, college student out there in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, after a suspect, this piece of shit here, Keon King, was arrested, I think this past Wednesday. On the 2-week mark of her missing, her body was found in a shallow grave behind a school that was previously searched, by police. Now, more information has come out. Well, it's a redo of the information yesterday, but I want you to listen closely to what everybody's talking about in this thing. And I thought about this last night heavily. And I don't think a lot about the stories I do. You get bombarded with so many stories that you do, like I do on this channel, that a lot of times you don't have time to really look back. But for some odd reason, for me being from Camden, New Jersey, shout out Camden, Philly, right across the road. I lived in Philly myself for a while. The story hit a little home. Plus with me having a daughter and stuff, it just bothered me last night. And I just thought about it. It got me so stirred up with me just, getting caught up in the thoughts in my own head about what happened. And, I just came to myself and I said, could more have been done? And I laid there and I meditated on that. And I woke up this morning and then I came across what I'm about to show you here. And I want to talk about a few points. But go ahead and take the time to take a look at what I'm about to show you. And then hopefully you'll stick around for my commentary. Because, stories like this, just rough, man. Especially when you see the parents and they holding out for hope. And it doesn't turn out good. Take a look, guys.
No one is happy that this is the ending, and completely understand that this is a lot on our investigators, a lot on all of us, because again, we all have family members, and this could have been any one of our family members, could be anybody's family member.
An emotional day in the search for a missing woman. Investigators found human remains while looking for Kada Scott. Thanks for staying with us after the game. I'm Johnny Archer. Police have not identified who those remains are yet. Kada Scott's family was planning to search that area tonight for clues. She first disappeared 2 weeks ago while at work in Chestnut Hill. 10 days later, Keon King turned himself into police. They believe he was the last person who saw her. And a day after his arrest, police received a tip and searched the abandoned area of the Ada Lewis Middle School in East Germantown, but found nothing. And today, police went back and found a shallow grave containing the human remains of a woman. NBC 10's Aaron Baskerville first brought you this breaking update at 6 p.m. He joins us live from police headquarters tonight with the very latest. Aaron?
Johnny, as we all know right now, the case is in the hands of the medical examiner. That is the next step. The medical examiner will try and figure out exactly a positive ID on this woman, and then, of course, trying to figure out exactly how this woman died. Police telling us tonight that a very specific tip late last night led them back to the exact same spot they searched earlier this week.
We are not going to confirm at this point that it is Miss Kada Scott.
Sadness for what could be. Investigators confirming tonight they found a woman's body in a wooded area far behind the old Ada Lewis Middle School in East Germantown. They tell NBC 10 a tip late last night on the disappearance of 23-year-old Kada Scott led them back here today. Does the timeline match up? In terms of when she went missing and how long it looks like that grave has been around?
I am not going to get into any of the investigative process because I don't want to mess up this case.
Scott went missing on October 4th after she showed up for her overnight shift at a nursing home in Chestnut Hill. Keon King has since been charged with kidnapping her, and police fear the 21-year-old could have other victims.
Yesterday, second floor, we knocked that window down. First floor, cut the locks off.
Neighbors and volunteers say they searched this exact area last night for hours. They tell NBC 10 they found what looked like fresh dirt and feel police could have found the body sooner. Some screamed and yelled at investigators for a while tonight.
Sign number one, fresh dirt under a board. So we began to try to dig with our hands.
Yes, we did.
I seen maggots under and in the ground. There also was a strange smell coming from the ground.
After 14 days, investigators are closer to answers. They aren't giving much detail, only saying they found a shallow grave. Sources say it looks like the body has been there for a week or less. Emotions were high tonight, as the case is now in the hands of the medical examiner.
And this is an emotional situation, and so it's to be understood. However, I know what we have done and the amount of hours that have been put into this process of trying to locate Ms. Scott.
They tell us they put in hours and hours and hours of work. The police and, of course, volunteers and neighbors searched for days as well. A lot of folks were captivated by this story, an unprecedented amount of support, the DA saying, coming from the public. I can tell you tonight that Kada Scott's family has been identified. They had been told about all of these new developments. When we caught up with them tonight, they understandably did not want to talk to us. Right now, there has been no timetable set on any positive ID. For now, we are live outside of police headquarters. Aaron Baskerville, NBC 10 News.
Human remains have been found amid the search for missing 23-year-old Kada Scott. We're told the remains appear to be those of a female and were found in a shallow grave in a heavily wooded area in East Germantown. CBS News Philadelphia reporter Ray Strickland joins us live this morning from police headquarters with the very latest. Ray, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Jen. Yes, this is a heartbreaking update on the case that we've been following for weeks now. As you mentioned, police are still waiting on the medical examiner's office to identify those remains. But investigators did say during that search that they found a phone case, a wallet, and even glasses that they believe belong to Kada Scott. Now, let's get to some video from yesterday showing the police presence at an abandoned middle school called ADA H.H. Lewis in Germantown. Officers scoured the property there, even going deep into the woods, which is where they say they found a woman's body buried in a shallow grave. Police say it was a tip that led them back to this school, which is an area they had focused on before during this intense search for Scott. Now, the missing 23-year-old Philadelphia woman hasn't been seen since October 4th when she was leaving work at an assisted living facility in Chestnut Hill. Police say 21-year-old Keon King was the last person who saw Scott before she vanished. She's now in police custody facing kidnapping charges and other offenses connected to her disappearance. Now, police spoke to us about the investigation and that discovery. We also spoke to Scott's dad, who did an interview with us not long before the new developments.
Get home as soon as possible. Yeah. Things are not good, but we still are positive.
Is this the conclusion that we wanted? Absolutely not. But at this point now, we have to do everything in our power to ensure that we bring justice for this family and some level of closure.
And police have been in contact with Scott's family, but again, no formal identification of those remains has been made. Now, police did say that this investigation still has a lot of work to be done, so they're asking the public to continue to send in tips and any information that can help. Jan, back to you.
Ray, thanks so much for the update.
Okay, guys, you seen that. And it is her body. Let's not even dance around this situation. Random bodies don't just be buried somewhere where they're looking for somebody else. A lot of times it ain't like that. And the way they were talking about the situation in the case, past tense, if you listen to the police interview on scene or the presser on scene, they already were saying, hey, now they can get some closure. So we already know. the clothes matched or whatever, or something matched where they knew. Now they're saying it's going to take a little while before things come back. Dental records, I'm more than sure we'll know by Monday or Tuesday if the match was indeed Kada Scott, which I believe it was, and a lot of other people do too. They're not going to show you on the news a bunch of people getting emotional and stuff that care about Kada and all of this type of stuff, and police talking in past tense and talking about they notifying the family and all this other stuff if it wasn't her. But they have to say that because, you know, it's the media, they're out there, and then you got the police out there. Nobody want a lawsuit, you know, if it's a 0.01% chance that it's not her. But either way, man, I want you to think about something. They had this guy locked up for the longest time. Now they're saying she's been dead at least a week. I mean, at a week. They're saying her time of death, judging by what the medical examiner said on scene, was a week. So basically, for 1 week, while the news was covering this story and people were getting stirred up at a fever pitch, this guy was still out on the street with this girl put up somewhere, and she didn't know if she was going to live or die, which we saw the latter was the result. He's 21 years old, and he's already a killer of women, a stalker, a harasser, a terror. See, people like this are terrorists in our own country, and they should be treated as such. People that do heinous, vicious, malicious crimes against other citizens purposely for their own sick, twisted agendas need to be dealt with outside of the normal judicial system. But they don't treat them like that. See, I don't know where this whole thing came from, because the whole fabric and the thinking of American people and how they wanted the country to be does unraveled. And it's been unraveled. We got people that are born in this country who don't understand or give a shit about the freedoms that they have that they wouldn't have in other countries, and they exploit them by exploiting others. This shit is heartbreaking. This shit bothered me so much last night. My wife had to tell me to calm the fuck down. And, you know, I do these stories, and, like, you know, a lot of people don't understand. Like, they say, oh, you in the room, you do. Sometimes I put a little music to it, or I might make a joke out of something that, you know, or I don't want to say a joke, some humor might come out of a bad situation a lot of times, but it still does not make the situation better. This type of shit take a toll on you. And if you're not built for it, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. It's hard to cover a story and then day in and day out, and then just see it always end the same way. Somebody's missing. You want to say nice words, but 9 out of 10 times, the person never comes home. This girl had the rest of her life ahead of her, and she was on a positive trajectory to success of her own life. And here you got somebody coming that don't value nothing, like I said before, and it's just a miscreant, and with terroristic, sadistic, you know, behavior, they cross paths, and now she's gone. He's in jail. He'll live out the rest of his life where hers was snuffed out. Now they're talking about, could more have been done? I don't know. I'm not going to put myself in police and say, hey, investigation of this, they should have did this, they should have did that. But I will say one thing. It's odd to me that they had tips. Well, we're not even going to go to that. They went to that school, and these people that were there out in the street found stuff that they didn't. If you searched the school and you found, like they said earlier this week, they found her eyeglasses, her phone case, and all this other stuff at that school, an abandoned school in the middle of nowhere. How come you didn't search the outside? Because if you look at where her body was found, just go on the internet and look at where her body was found. She wasn't found that deep in the woods. And I think that's what those people are yelling and screaming about. I think she was not found that deep in the woods, her body. And I don't think they searched back there, because if it was a shallow grave dug by a regular idiot, you would have seen the disturbance in the soil. And it was right in the walking path between two trees. So if they took those cadets that went to the arboreta or whatever that thing was and pushed them through that, maybe this would have been found a lot sooner. Now, I'm not saying that the police could have stopped him from taking her out, because he wasn't caught at that time. At that time, they saying her death occurred. But it's just crazy how, you know, all of this type of stuff coming out, and then the justice system's exposed again, with the DA saying that judges don't like getting woke up, and why was this guy let back out? And it's always the same thing. These people go in there, they start off with small, they're serious crimes, but they're of a smaller caliber. They might hurt somebody or do something mentally that's messed up and goes against the fabric of normal social behavior, and they don't stop them then. If you look at this whole thing in a nutshell with all of the information that's gathered, and I'm going to end on this. Kada Scott is no longer here because a guy with a habit that was getting emboldened because he was getting slaps on the wrist and nothing was done to him. She's gone because this guy was let back out and more emboldened, because every time he was locked up, nothing really happened. And he got a chance to understand more of what he can and can't do in the justice system. And he was willing to take a chance on it because they never dealt with this son of a bitch in the first place. And now another girl that had nothing to do with the other two victims, you know what I'm saying, of this guy's terror, she paid the ultimate price because she was the final victim as he grew more emboldened in life to bother somebody. How many times have we seen children taken away from the parents and all of a sudden given back to the parents and the child's dead? Then the first thing everybody says, which is common sense, is why was they given back? And then you get on the news and there's a timeline of why this happened. And then everybody says, oh, my hands are tied. We don't do this. We don't do that. Same thing with murderers or people that are building themselves up to murder somebody else, an unsuspecting victim. This is why. When people come out and show that they're demons, they need to be crushed immediately. This is bullshit. You got all these lawmakers and politicians, but nobody ever wakes up or sits there and watches a news article and then looks back at their daughter and says, if that was my daughter, I don't know what I would do. So let me do the most I can in the position I can to make sure this does not happen to anybody else, especially my child. Never see that. How many times are you seeing now growing phenomena, women just disappearing off the planet? Never to be seen again, little kids. It's a pattern these people go through. And nothing is ever done. Nobody jumps up and say, hey, you know what? How many people you have missing in your state? How many people you have missing in your state? How many children were killed in the last 10 years in your state by abusive parents? What's the range of drugs being sold in your thing? All this other stuff, drug-related deaths. They never come together. They never. Now, each state is given governance over how to deal with their, cases, but the feds need to take over. They do. For real. You got, man, how hard is it to come together if you really want peace? But see, a lot of peace equals a loss of money somewhere, whether it's in the judicial system. You know what I'm saying? Makes no sense. People don't really care. They don't. The ones in power, they don't really care. How many times people got to disappear? Now, I'm going to tell you something. If death was the ultimate price of paying for killing other people, a lot of people wouldn't do it. Now, it would still happen. But a lot of people would think twice before they deliver a death blow to a child, before they go out there and snatch a woman off the street and have their way with her and then discard her like trash. There are people that they would think, because a lot of people don't want to follow the example, of what happens to other people that do that type of shit. Either way, man, I'm done, man. My heart goes out to the family and stuff. I mean, damn, you put a lot of love, time, energy, sacrifice into your child just to get them to where they can function on their own and swim in the deep waters of the world. And now this happens. Taken out of here by a piece of shit who needs to be taken out of here himself. Stock Market Steve for the Dynamic Reason channel. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's just depressing sometimes, you know. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. May Kada Scott rest in peace.